was the Oscars 2 days ago, and there were so many great movies that came out last year that deserve their nominations for the Oscars, and so I thought today we would rank all of those movies in a tier list. I'm not going to take into account anything that the Oscars did, which films won and which ones didn't. This is going to be my opinion of which films I thought were the best from last year, and let me know down below in the comments which films were your best. There will also be a link to this tier list down below in the description for you to play along at home. Let's get into it. So to start off with, we have Anora, which of course did win lots of Oscars. I think it was the film that won the most Oscars and won Best Leading Actress. And you can tell why. I remember going and seeing Anora in cinema, and it was mind-blowing. I absolutely loved it. I thought the acting in it was amazing. I especially loved the supporting actor of the male who literally just didn't say anything until the very end and was just so powerful. I absolutely loved it. I thought the story was amazing, and I didn't think watching a film about a stripper would be so enticing, and yet it was. And so I vividly remember walking out of that cinema not knowing anything about it at first, coming out of it being completely transformed. I absolutely loved it. So for that reason, it's going to go in the S tier. Next, we got Wicked, of course, a very big fan favorite. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, of course, as Alphabet and Galinda. This definitely has had the most cultural impact. And I will say, I absolutely loved the film. I thought the acting in it was amazing. I thought the music in it was brilliant. The singing, everything, like the color schemes, you can tell this is such a great film, and I can't wait for part 2. The only issue that I had with it was I feel like it went on for a bit too long. I know controversially, but they did extend the time to make sure that it could be part 1 a full-length movie and part 2 a full-length movie. And there were moments where I just feel like I got a bit bored, and I'm sorry to say that. Like, there were great moments, and if it had been those moments but in an hour and a half or 2 hours, it would have been better. It was too long, in my opinion. So for that reason, I don't think it's an S. I'm going to say it's an A tier. Next, we've got The Apprentice. I thought Sebastian Stan in this was brilliant. I'm not going to lie, watching a film about Donald Trump was uncomfortable, to say the least, especially when you think of what he's like now, returning as president. But I thought, to be honest, as a decent retelling, it was really, really good. I don't think it's as good as any of these two films, but I think it's a solid B tier. Next, we've got Sing Sing. Again, quite an emotionally hard-hitting one. Obviously set in a prison, and I thought it was really, really good, but again, probably not as good as these two, so I'm going to put it in the B tier. Next, we got A Real Pain. I did think the chemistry between the two actors was brilliant, and I thought there was a great comedic moments throughout this film, and I really, really enjoyed that, and it was just a bit awkward at times, which I really, really liked. But I would say not as good as these two films either. So I'm going to put it at B tier. I will say all of these films I absolutely love, unless they end up in the D tier, which I absolutely hate. Even if they end up on C, I still think they're quite a good film. At the end of the day, we're versing films that are Oscar nominated, so they're all going to be amazing. It's just how great they are compared to each other. That's what we're dealing with here. Speaking of which, September 5, that is the best film that came out last year. Oh my goodness, it is incredible. I remember watching it and I was on the edge of my seat, considering it only takes place across literally 12 hours maybe, but seeing the perspective of the first ever terrorist attack recorded on TV, and seeing those TV producers inside the little studio in Germany trying to capture it, it's just so enticing. I thought the acting and the directing was incredible. It had me on the edge of my seat. I remember coming out of it thinking, wow, that was hard hitting. I had to take a moment and a step back because it was really emotional and really impactful. So I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really, really real and true, which I adored. So for that reason, it's going to go in the S tier. Next, we've got The Wild Robot. I'm going to say S tier again. Again, I came out of it like I did with Anora, like I did with September 5, feeling something different, and that's what I love. And I think as an animated film, to be able to do that is so powerful. It's such a shame that it really did not do that well in any of the awards that I've seen, because it seemed to have been beat by things like Wallace and Gromit and stuff like that, especially in stuff like the BAFTAs. But I will say The Wild Robot was incredible. I remember watching it not knowing what to expect, and I loved the soundtrack, and I just thought it was so cute. It gave me WALL-E vibes, but in a really lovely way, and it was just a really wholesome film, and sometimes that's all you want, especially from an animated film. I absolutely loved it. Next, we've got Inside Out 2. I loved Inside Out 2. If you've seen any videos on the channel, you will know I love Inside Out 2. I've spoken about it way too much on this YouTube channel, but in terms of which films I actually think are incredible, I will say I don't think it's S tier, but I'm going to put it A tier because I really love it. It's the film that I've seen the most out of any film on this list. I think from seeing it so much and making so many videos on it and making it basically my personality, it basically left S tier and went down to A tier, but it's still amazing. And I think it's definitely better than the first film and really impactful when anxiety ends up giving Riley a anxiety attack, and it's just really, really powerful. Next, we've got Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. Controversial, this one, because loads of people want to put it in the S tier, and I know all of these awards want to put it in the S tier. For me, I'm gonna have to put it in the B tier. I think I'd really hyped this film up for myself, and then when I saw it on Christmas Day, I remember watching it with my family. We made it a full, big occasion because we were all so excited. Finally, more Wallace and Gromit, and it just, to me, didn't live up to any of what I loved about Wallace and Gromit. It felt too, I'm gonna say, modern. I feel like it lost that nostalgic touch to it. Maybe it's because it is modern, maybe it's because it's too new and I haven't been able to put that nostalgic lens over it as to the reason why I didn't think it was that good. But compared to other films like The Wrong Trousers, which of course this is a sequel of, compared to A Matter of Life and Death, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, all of these other films I just thought were better, and I thought this one, with what they had, was really good, but I just didn't think it was as interesting. And I thought there could have been a way more interesting way they could have told this story with Feathers returning, and the gnomes just kind of annoyed me. So I would have preferred something different. So for that reason, it's going to go in B tier. Gladiator 2, I thought was really, really good. The fight scenes were amazing, so I'm going to put it in the A tier. I think it was really, really good. The Brutalist, interesting one. Having a film with an interval in was really weird, but quite a cool experience. I know everyone absolutely loved this film. I thought it was good, but again, too long. Similar to what I had with Wicked. I can't deal with these really long films unless they're like the end of the end, like Endgame, although Endgame wasn't really the end, was it? So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the B tier. Next, we've got A Complete Unknown. I will say, from watching this film as not a Bob Dylan fan, it was really, really good. But I think because I wasn't a Bob Dylan fan, I didn't have as much of an appreciation for it. I really think what Timothée Chalamet did with the part was incredible. Like, he completely transformed. I thought the acting in it was amazing. But for me, again, sort of went on a bit too long, and I don't connect with Bob Dylan because I don't have any sort of connection with him. I've never heard of a single Bob Dylan song until I watched this film. Call me really, really young, I suppose. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the B tier. Like, good film, didn't connect with it. Next, we got The Conclave. I don't know where to put this one, to be honest. Like, obviously it was winning so many awards, and I do think it's a really good film, but I don't think it's as good as anything up here. I'm going to have to put it in the B tier. I thought the twist at the end was spectacular. Like, that is so ironically hilarious what happens at the end. And I do think the acting was really good and there was a lot of tension. But I think the problem was it was very, like, one note throughout all of it. It chose a vibe to go with, and then it stuck with that vibe throughout a 2-hour-long film, which was tense. Like, it had me on the edge of my seat, but I needed some shifts. And it very much like the same throughout all of it. So apart from at the very, very end. So for that reason, it's going to go in the B tier. Next, we've got Emilia Perez. Man, the award shows love this. I didn't. I thought it was... For what it is, I suppose it's good. And I do get why it's getting awards. But I just didn't think it was that good. And to be honest, from what I've heard, from what other people think of this film, I think we're all on the same page that it wasn't that amazing. I think the acting in it is good, but like, wasn't that amazing. Sorry, D tier. Next, we've got I'm Still Here, a really emotional film and hard-hitting film as well, but I don't think it's as good as any of these things, so I'm going to put it in the B tier. Next, we have Nickel Boys. I thought it was a good film, but to be honest, I did think it was kind of forgettable compared to any of these films. So I think I'm going to put it in the C tier. Like, I liked it, but I thought it was quite forgettable. And finally, we have The Substance, which is a film that everyone seems to be talking about. I thought it was a really interesting concept, and I really liked the vibe of the film. It's definitely different to anything else on this list. But I don't think it shines out as much as these films. Definitely not S tier. I don't think it's as good as Wicked or them lot, so I think I'm going to put it in a strong B tier. So there's my list. As you can see, there's quite a lot in the B tier, but like I'm saying, that's not bad. That just means I think they're pretty much the same as each other. But I do think the top films are definitely September 5, Anora, and The Wild Robot. Came out of the cinema. and just felt so impacted by them. Absolutely loved them. And I'm glad Anora kept on winning those Oscars. But I do think September 5 and The Wild Robot should have won more awards than they did at all of these award shows. What do you guys think of my list? Do you agree with me or not? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.